very nice climate up there, actually.
Before it was cannabis.
Before I did cannabis, yeah. So actually, that's where I started when I came to Arizona after I worked in Colorado early in the hydroponic business, and then spent 3 years. My first 3 years with Eurofresh were spent in Snowflake in that facility. So it's a very nice facility.
That's right. The Eurofresh facility became the Copperstate facility that Jacob's now running.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Nature Suite actually took it over. What was that? Right around 2009, right, Tony?
Yeah, I worked about 6 months for Nature Suite when they took over from Eurofresh, and then I went to work for Windset in California. But yeah.
How big is that facility? How big is that facility they have down near you guys? They have like what, 250 plus acres under glass?
Here in Wilcox, we have 268 acres on 6 sites. We call them sites, right? So there's, as a company, they had 318 total, which included the Snowflake facility. So,
right, I happen to know a lot about those deals, but remember, folks, those large 6 facilities are still tomatoes.
Yes, they're still growing tomatoes down here. So,
and for those of you who don't know, that's where the Pace Picante sauce tomatoes comes from. Is that correct?
No, they basically grow grape and cherry tomatoes here.
Oh, okay. I thought I was told that Nature Suite was Pace Picante sauce. What do I know? Big news. Connected Cannabis. Bruno, where are you at?
Yes, here.
There you at.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, all right, there we go. Yeah, so my name's Bruno. Bruno Gagliardi. I've been with Connected just actually since this summer, but I've been growing actually cannabis since 2011. That was actually in Florida, and moved out to California in 2016. So I got on board with the industry at the time. Previously, I was working in organic agriculture and urban farming. So I, kind of made a transition professionally into cannabis at the time. And yeah, since then, it's been a crazy ride. Like I said, recently I got brought on board here with Connected here in Arizona, and we're super excited, right? It's a booming state. We're excited to be able to bring our reputation and, everything that follows it with us, and create a new following here in this, brand new market for us.
Well, we're excited to have Connected. You guys are legends and just getting started, which is fantastic. You're legends already. So thank you for joining us on this panel. You should know that MITA's underlying goals, one of the things we're switching towards is like a general promotion of Arizona cannabis companies in general, whether it's retail or brands or vape pens or flower, cultivators, everything. We want to make sure that people across the country and across the world are aware of the talent that exists here for the patients currently and for the consumers in the future. So we have executive recruiters watching this show. There's a lot of action that occurs, but that's our underlying theme that we're going for. But with that, everybody's been introduced, I think. Everybody, did I get everybody? Yes. I'll turn it over to Nate. I wanted the first topic to be about women, but if you want to pick the first topic, Nate, if you want to pick the first theme, go ahead, and we can go back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to kick it off, I really want to reiterate that, Dimitri listed me as the subject matter expert, but I am not the subject matter expert. Everyone that we brought onto this panel, they're all the people that I honestly learned most of the things that I know from. And when I travel around to different growing operations, I learn a ton every time. And I see myself getting drawn back to Arizona to film the operations here because they actually are tending to be some of the most interesting and largest and doing what I would say is pushing the envelope of cultivating cannabis. So anyone that's watching this right now should really realize that they're standing among giants in the cannabis cultivation field, and to really pay attention to what these guys are saying and what they know. And with that said, I think we can kick it off with women in cannabis. Women cultivating cannabis, I think right now it's almost like programming in the 1980s. It's this highly male-dominated field. And it's really interesting because producing cannabis, you guys really are like the chefs and the engineers of the cannabis industry. It's one of the most interesting things about the cannabis industry is the flower, and that's what stems everything. So I guess a big question is, yeah, where do you think women coming into cultivation is going to happen, or what needs to happen for there to be more women representation?
George? You're on mute.
Everyone's on mute.
Yeah, you guys can keep yourself on live if you want to. Just make sure there's no background noise.
Hey, so I mean, I just love the idea. I actually loved the forum with the topic discussing, women in the cannabis industry. I think we have some great leaders in the cannabis industry. They might not have gotten the recognition yet, but we have great leaders. Jen, she actually runs the local joint. She started out in cultivation, and she has a good cultivation background, understands the plant, and now she's moved over to retail, and she can pass that information on to other, to the consumers. Erin Pollinger, she's another great leader, in the cannabis industry. Adriana, Leah from the Prime Leaf. I mean, we have so many great leaders, women leaders, I think, in the cannabis industry, and their time's coming. I mean, they're a lot smarter than men, so it's only a matter of time.
And why aren't they more involved in cultivation? Because I know first thing is, and we're going to get a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of feedback on this. Why is your panel all men? Where do we find the women cultivators? How do we help them get there? Help me find role models that I can put on MITA's platform and publicize it so people could see that women can succeed as cultivators. That's kind of a theme. But why aren't there, Jacob or Bruno, would you like to comment on that? Why do you think there aren't more women cultivators out there?
Really, I think there are a decent number of women cultivators, and there's more and more every day. It's just, they're like George said, they're really not getting the recognition probably right now at this point. But to say that I haven't come across plenty of talented women growers in my time growing, that's just not true. So I think just, as time progresses, we're going to see more and more of them, make their name in the scene. But yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and also with that, I just think that I mean, we have many rock stars, that are women that are cultivators here. But you called me, I could grab one for you. If you like.
Go get one.
So, but I mean, our team is littered with great women teammates, and I mean they're true rock stars. You'll see them. Cultivation is hard work. I mean, we're glorified janitors, really, is what we are. And these women, they grind, and they'll outgrind a lot of the men sometimes.
Tony?
Yeah, I was just going to say in the tomato industry, the hydroponic greenhouse business, there's getting to be more and more, but there's a lot of different career paths to get into this business. The very best IPDM experts that I know were women that I worked for and or worked with, and so there's more than just one career path to be a grower. You can come from a lot of different backgrounds. You can come from the biological control, or you can come from a horticulture, irrigation type background and be successful in this and work your way up. Or you can be an excellent labor manager. We've had a lot of folks come through, women that have started out as supervisors and just worked their way up into the growing tract and become the managers. And so, there's more than just one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. I think there's something to maybe the theory that men just aren't that smart, so we decide to do a lot of illegal things, and we get caught
risk adversity
for it. Yeah, and then it becomes legal, and I guess we have the knowledge, but it seems like now the women are jumping in because they're waiting until they didn't have to get their mugshot.
Yeah,
maybe they're on the smarter side.
That could definitely be a factor.
That's very true.
Matthew, Miles, you guys have a number of employees. And the message I think I want to leave here is the fact that women should feel comfortable looking at cultivation as a career. What do you guys find in your cultivations? Do you find women are coming to for employment there, Matthew, Miles?
Yeah, I mean, our demographics of our facilities are obviously leaning a little towards on the male side, but like George's facility, we have absolute rock star female workers that there's so much potential there for every spot in our facilities. The attention to detail and the work ethic that we've seen throughout our facilities, and especially in our women workers, have been amazing. And I think it just kind of makes a really great culture, everybody working together trying to serve the plant. So I hope to see that just increase and increase, because I think it's a real asset to have on the team.
Matthew?
I don't think it's an issue of talent. I'm sure of that. And there definitely are women who work at Grow Sciences, and there certainly are women in the industry. I'll take a slightly different tone and say, I think our industry is pretty terrible with women. They don't get hired for the same jobs. They definitely don't have the same pathways to cultivation. The truth of the matter is that men were mostly the drug dealers for whatever reason. The people who got into this were those people. They brought their friends in, mostly male. And this first generation that I see, myself included, are pretty shitty at ingratiating women into it. And we're certainly trying. It's not for a lack of trying, but we could certainly try harder. But I think at a certain point, you have to make a decision that you just say, listen, we're going to take some chances. And whether people have experience or not, you just do it. And I think that's probably the only way I see women getting like an equal share at cultivation, because they certainly want to be in cultivation, whether they inherently know what it is or not. They have the same love, or a deeper love, I find, of the cannabis plant than men. They can smoke us under the table half the time. I'm an old guy, so everyone smokes me under the table. And I know we could do better. And, you know, every woman in my team is integral. I think every member of my team regardless is, but if, you know, I woke up tomorrow and came to Grow Sciences and didn't have Carrie and Ashley and Bella and, you know, my family members here, I'd have a fucking meltdown, pardon my language, you know.
No, it's okay. We're not regulated like that. We're good.
Yeah, you know, it would be a different company. And, you know, what I think makes GS what it is, I certainly hope is the family I work with here, and that patients know we're with them, you know, sharing our mistakes. Success is everything. So I think the industry, in my humble opinion, I know people can disagree, and maybe other people here are doing it better, and I hope they are. I think the industry is shitty towards women. And I think that we'll do better or we won't. And we're early on. I mean, it's, you know, we opened up 2 years ago here. You know, we came to market 2 years ago. The industry is very, very young inherently. There's a lot of us where I'm not a business genius by any stretch of the imagination. I had to have someone help me log into this Zoom thing. And I'm doing the best I can, you know, and learning along the way. And my partner's an absolute, you know, both my partners are, you know, very, you know, have the business acumen, thank God. But it's tough, and we're learning, and we'll do better. And we should hold ourselves accountable to that, and the rest will be history.
Well, Nate, I know you're getting the next theme ready, but let me conclude. MITA as an organization really truly understands that social equity and social justice. Yes, cannabis in a sense is just another commodity. It can be looked at like that, like alcohol or sugar. But as an organization, as a group, we're very conscious of the fact that social justice and social equity are big themes in the industry, and we like to make sure that these topics are covered. And one of those is the quality aspect of it. So thank you guys for all, you know, being concerned and being cognizant and aware, and even more aware now of the importance of this. So Nate, do you have the next topic?
Yep.
I just want to say I'm really proud to work. Earth Healing is a woman-owned business, and I've been very lucky and amazed to see how shrewd and how good it's been working for a company, and a minority woman at that. So I feel like we try to be an example of, at all different levels, trying to bring that equality into the structure of the company. And I think it feels really good to be able to say that. So I hope it expands.
Nice, cool. Well, on that note, let's jump into our next topic, which I'm pretty excited about because I think Arizona is primed to become one of the growing meccas of the country, and a lot of other states are being stymied due to certain laws, regulations, and rules, and they're not able to push the boundaries in the way that people can in Arizona. So I wanted to kick it off and ask you guys, why is Arizona becoming a mecca, and then what else needs to happen to get it to become, I would say, one of the top 3 places to grow in the country, if not the world. And why don't we kick it off? We can go right back to Miles, and then we'll go around.
Well, I think that it's, for me, when I'm going and trying to design a facility or design a cultivation methodology, first of all, we may not be the first to pass the legislation. There's always hiccups in it, but the fact that we don't have plant counts, we can actually go higher densities, the fact that electricity is not super expensive here. We have a climate where fan and pad systems work most of the time until you hit monsoons. I mean, there's a lot of really great things about cultivating in Arizona. There's a wide variety of climates and environments, going from snowflake or down here, down in Tucson, close to the border. I think it's all about our ability to adapt to the climate in legislation, and be able to maneuver in a way that kind of fits our niche and what we have here. So we may not be first to the game, but I think we've made some kind of good decisions, whether initially it doesn't seem like the best idea because we all want things to happen, but we're not oversaturating. We're kind of being a little more conservative on our approach, but that kind of makes our jobs easier down the road. And that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, super interesting. I think you're right in a lot of respects. And why don't we hop in and over to Tony, especially because he's coming at it from, I would say, a place of commercial cultivation that's non-cannabis.
Yeah, kind of going along with what Miles said, Arizona, when the tomato industry was first being built up here, the owner of Eurofresh, he had a company search the United States to find out where to grow, because he built a greenhouse in Pennsylvania and realized, well, maybe Pennsylvania is not the best place to have a greenhouse because of the climate at that time. And so they ended up saying that Wilcox, Arizona is like the best place to grow. And the reason is number one, you got an abundance of light. You have an abundance of good quality water, right? That's what we have here in anyway, this part. And we have a lot of labor. We have an abundance of labor that kind of want or are willing to do the kind of work that we do, which is it ends up being farm labor in the end when you're on a commercial scale. And so those 3 things were what drew the company, the first big greenhouse operation in the state here. So, and that still holds true. When you grow in Arizona, you have great climate. Speaking of snowflake, they don't have pad and fen up there. We have pad and fen here, but up there they have it's a little bit more north. They have better elevation, and so you get those cool nights that you're able to handle. And so Arizona is a great place to build an operation because it has the 3 most important things. And then for the cannabis industry, I agree 100% with what Miles was saying. We have we're not California where they have so many rules and so many pieces. Everybody's trying to take a part of you, right? It seems like to me when you read about it. And so it's a place where an entrepreneur can be able to grow and develop. There are a lot of rules to follow in this business and a lot of things you have to do, but it's still possible to do without having everybody take a bite of it, right? So Arizona is a great place to be able to do business in that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, we're in California, they're pushing the boundaries of bureaucracy. I think the growers here are pushing the boundaries of, what the plant's capable to be grown in, whether it's in a really hot climate at low elevation or a really high climate, where it's much cooler. And even in these indoor facilities, like like with Grow Sciences, for example, where they have a very, very high value crop. And so I think they're keeping their environment probably as precise as possible. So Matt, can you, speak to AZ as a Mecca and what you guys are doing in Phoenix?
I actually think that it always has been. So I think it's the beta versus VHS battle, and where beta was probably a better technology, VHS won, but no one knows it. California did the breeding. So the genetics come, and not all the genetics, obviously, but quite a few were done in California. I would tell you, though, all day, every day, the best cannabis I've gotten over the years in Arizona. A lot of kids came from California in the late 90s. And, I was in Tucson, and there was tons of fire, absolute fire. I think the black market in Arizona, those growers do a phenomenal job. You have, let's call it 10 to 20 lights. You can be super dialed. You can talk directly to your customer. You know exactly what the market is looking for, and you're able to do your job with no one screwing with you. It's not a plant label issue at that point. It's a complete quality issue. And, what I battle with is keeping it as boutique as my caregiver grow, while at the same time, having 400 flowering lights and 36 family members and, drying and curing and the absolute disaster that's packaging. And, we could spend this whole panel talking about packaging. I mean, that's cannabis is meant to be in a Ziploc bag. That's why it smells better on the black market most of the time, I'll be honest with you. Not anybody on this panel has figured out the packaging, and we've spent 2 years trying to figure it out. And that's not an Arizona issue. That's a nationwide issue. Jungle Boys hasn't figured it out. Alien Labs, and I fucking love Alien Labs, Bruno, FYI. The Sherbasio is some of the best stuff on the planet, but nobody's figured it out.
That's a big endorsement, Bruno.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Bruno.
So that's it. I think Arizona, my goal, if it ended tomorrow, I'd love if we were on the same level as California, but I think we're going to get there either way. And I think what you're starting to see is people are now doing breeding projects here. And as we start to create our own genetics, that's what's going to do it. We also need our community a lot more tight-knit. I feel like in a lot of ways, Arizona is very against each other. Whether it's patient versus patient or grower or brand. This is the only place I've ever been where there's a shortage of cannabis. None of us are growing enough. Not a single person on this is growing enough to satisfy demand. And we would act like there's a competition. What are we talking about here? It is what it is. So, I think Arizona will get there. I think I'll be excited when it happens. And I think, I think Grow Sciences in a lot of ways is 75 to 80% of where I'd love to be. And I think right around the time we get to 95, it'll be that. And, I know George, and, I'm just getting to meet some of the other people on this webinar, but, I know George is doing, absolutely huge things. And, obviously Copperstate has the opportunity to be the guy that makes it when we're all gone, because they've just got so much space to do it. And they've got, all, the time in the world. I'm happy to be along for the ride, and whatever I can do to help out Arizona and the community, while at the same time helping to provide a great life for my family members here. That's what we're going to do. And I think the key to Arizona cannabis will be transparency. There's a lot of bullshit in California. There's always someone getting popped for this and that. It wasn't what they said it was. I'd love for Arizona to be like the transparency capital. The new testing doesn't go near enough. It's frankly somewhat embarrassing for us, but it's a good start, and I hope we expand upon that. And that's about it.
Nate, can I ask Matthew a quick question? Testing, packaging, we could talk about all those things, and everybody else has to talk about the benefits of Arizona quickly. But Matthew, you think amongst the grow community, though, the cultivators, I know I'm very familiar with the corporate level competition with all these deals and blah, 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 licensee stuff that exists. Everybody's at each other's throat. But at the grower level, you think the competition exists there as well, or is there a little bit more of a community?
And if you put 10 growers in a room, you get 11 opinions, and all 11 are that they're the best grower in the room. That's just cannabis cultivation, man. Like, and that's what kind of makes it fun, right? Probably everybody on this and a lot of people who grow at home got into it before the money aspect to just grow the best cannabis and show it off to their friends. You know, I mean, the first genetics I ever grew in a closet were not the highest yield by any stretch of the imagination. They were certainly the prettiest though, because, you know, what are you going to do? You're 18 years old. You want to look cool to your friends. Cannabis is your whole life. It's the only way you know how to communicate with people. You know, that was my crew, and those are the only people that got me. And, you know, that was that. So, yeah, I think it's what it is.
Nice. Yeah, it's really interesting because in my travels through Washington, Oregon, California, what I notice is you can have a grow that's say a 3 or 4 out of 10 and you can still be in business. In Arizona, you can't do that. There's a limited amount of licenses and everyone has to really be on top of their game in order to sustain it. But right now the market's definitely up. So I think there are a lot of people that are surviving, but people are growing at a whole different level in Arizona. And
don't you think that there's luck involved as well though in that? And I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're saying because the limited licenses, many people can get on a license and get screwed over by the license holder, and we lose talented growers. I think that we're in a state where we have a few entities owning most everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people think that's going to be a positive experience for the patient, but I, for one, do not.
You know, Matthew, you reminded me of something I wanted to say. There's a great grower that I met in a school bus growing up in Mojave named David Pizer, who had a license back in 2012. And it's one of my regrets in this cannabis industry that I couldn't help him evolve to the level that he deserved to be. He was a great dude and knew how to grow cannabis since the 60s. And now he's over in Oklahoma, where the market is allowing him for $2,500 to grow on a few acres, exploring his craft. So
to get into Arizona, you got to also know how to bullshit, because you're going to be raising a lot of money. It is what it is. I don't care what anyone tells you. These facilities cost at least $160 a square foot to build. And that's if you know what you're doing. Do the math. It takes millions of dollars, and none of us have it. Still don't have it, and that's okay. But, you know, it's the nature of the beast. So I'm not surprised that, you know, your buddy who was growing in the 60s, that story exists for many people in the black market. I know many caregiver teams in Arizona that could go right into a facility and knock home runs out of the park. And they don't have access to capital. They don't have access to people willing to take a chance on them. We were very blessed to have that opportunity with our friends and family. And, you know, you carry that on your shoulder when you come to the grow every day, and you have to perform. But let's not kid ourselves. There's many people who should be in the industry that aren't. And the barrier to that entry is money. And if not everybody on this webinar is a millionaire, then luck has to have played some part in it. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, luck meets opportunity. You know, I've seen things happen just like in Washington, Oregon. It's going to happen in Oklahoma too. You know, 2,000 people get a license, and 2 years later, there's 200 left. It's a rocky 2 years for those 1,800 people.
You know, Nate, George, I know you, and I know your journey, and I know that, you know, you had the expertise prior to getting a license. Maybe, Nate, you know George's story too. Would you want to tell us a little bit about how you ended up from looking for a place to grow to having one of the premier facilities in Arizona?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say we have the premier facility in Arizona. I mean, we have a building, right? And there's no congratulations. The only thing we're successful at is spending millions of dollars at this point. There's millions of actions.
My man. Oh, jinx.
There's millions of actions that need to be followed through with, you know, in order to become successful. And, you know, I'm a big believer, you know, you don't chase money. It's like chasing your shadow, man. You're never going to catch it. You know, I think a lot of growers and cultivators do this for the love of the plant. You know, I think we're all grateful that we have a platform just to operate on, make a living on, and hopefully build a successful company. Yes, the margins are good, but it's a very expensive industry to enter as well. especially the Arizona market, right? And kind of going into your question, Nate, I think the landscape of the Arizona cultivation has changed so much due to a lot of things, right? The main thing is the structure of the licensing here. We don't have, we don't have a ceiling when it comes to our canopy footprint. We can grow as much as we want. And the big thing, and the number one thing is big money. That's what people are trying to come into the market to grab. You have a lot of investors, a lot of people that are raising money to come into this industry. And that's what it really comes down to. I like to say that we are a family owned and operated facility with no large outside investment. And that's why we built this facility right here in Tucson too. So something we're very proud of being from Tucson as well. Yeah, I mean, really, that's what it comes down to, any kind of business, right? There's good margins right now. Eventually, cannabis will become a commodity. I think a lot of us in the cultivation game, I speak for myself at least, I don't have adult usage in mind when I'm cultivating cannabis. I'm waiting for federal laws to change. Everybody should have access to this. You shouldn't need millions of dollars to enter into this industry. I think, we're very grateful that we have that opportunity, but there's no way that you should need millions of dollars to enter into the cannabis industry if you're a responsible operator. And again, we're about the grassroots level, man. I mean, here, we're focused on the consumer, and yeah, it really comes down to big money. And I think that's where you're seeing the landscape change when it comes to cultivation here, along with, our payroll. Our payroll is not going to be as high. So when these federal laws change, the most expensive thing in any business is your payroll. Even that's second to, your energy bill as well. So yeah, there's a lot of good climates. I'm battle tested in the desert where it's 100+ degrees. So we understand that mechanical units are the most important thing when it comes here in the desert. I don't have the experience of cultivating in California or up north. We're battle tested in the heat, and I think that's where the experience comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Nate, while you get the next theme ready, if I may, for the audience out there, there's 130 unlimited cultivation licenses in the state of Arizona that are out there in the market, and it's capped at that. Each of those licenses can also have a unlimited grow attached to their dispensary. So there's theoretically a potential 260 places to grow commercially in Arizona, but really most of the dispensaries are in retail locations. So there's only 130 grows. Under the Smart and Safe, which is going to pass in November, there'll be 26 more licenses issued, which means 26 more grow licenses. And some of the consumer patient grow rights will change a little bit for the positive. So I agree with you, George. I think it will evolve in time. And I always tell people, Oklahoma has a pretty robust competitive market, and competition always leads to greater things happening and improved product. Sorry, but I'll leave it at that. Nate?
Yeah. And I think we'll kick it off with Bruno and talk about the future of cannabis cultivation in Arizona. We talked about what makes Arizona interesting, what could make people gravitate towards it, but even just thinking about the future of not the cannabis industry or anything per se, but really the future of cultivating cannabis in a state like Arizona. What is it going to look like 5 years from now? How is the industry going to morph? And, we could talk about it with Prop 207 passing and with it not passing.
Right. Well, either way, I think the biggest thing is really the level of competition, right? So if we can increase competition within the state, like they mentioned, it's always going to lead to better things, right? We're always going to have better product on the shelves. So that's going to be huge. From our point of view, the big thing that we want to do is kind of bring our genetics, right, from California into Arizona and mix things up, spread things out a little bit more. I'm pretty sure that, every grower on here relates to, having something really special in their garden, and they just want to be able to grow it for as many people as absolutely possible. So yeah, us being really happy to be introducing new genetics into the industry. That's you know, a pretty basic level. But you know, if you want to just talk about cultivation as a whole, naturally, whenever you have competition and also a lot of money being pumped into the cannabis industry, I think we could expect to see kind of an acceleration in development of what these cultivation sites start to look like, whether they be greenhouse or even outdoor or indoor. We're going to see probably an evolution in basically our cultivation systems as a whole really move forward. Basically, we're going to have, you know, a few extra resources potentially to be able to put towards newer technologies, whether they be, you know, with lighting, fertigation, whatever the situation is. I think that, you know, naturally, like I said, whenever you have competition and money being pumped into an industry, we're going to get some advancement for sure.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk to the cultivation geeks out there. I mean, what technologies do you see happening over the next, between now and 5 years, that you're excited about?
Well, lighting is a huge one for me, at least. It seems like LED, at least, is kind of finally starting to make an impact on the industry. Granted, it's still pretty early on, but a lot of stuff, and as well as just like monitoring, we're able to kind of watch our crop a little bit more closely than a lot of other production, you know, types of production. So I think that we'll basically be able to kind of steer our crops and drive our crops a little bit more effectively than maybe other industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's some great information. So Jake, from your perspective, I know that you have a background in horticulture from the U of A. So you've seen some of the technologies coming out from the academic sphere. What are you excited about?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I guess is just kind of being finalized for commercial ag that I guess would see coming next would be the kind of computer oversight that us cultivators are really leery of. You know, they've got all sorts of different robotics now in different kinds of berry and tomato production to sort of try and automate our jobs as far as saying, hey, what's ripe? Where do you have pest pressure or disease pressure? Where do you need more water? And, you know, while it's really cool and I'm excited to be able to use those tools, as a cultivator, you can never substitute time in the garden. So it's exciting, but still leery, and all those kind of technologies still need to be beta tested. And then kind of like Bruno said, LED technology jump has been amazing in the last 5 years. So excited to see what the next 5 years bring.
I remember filming. Oh, go for it, Miles.
Yeah, talking about the LEDs, I think anytime there's like a big technological advancement, there's always something new and cool we figure out comes out, but then you have to adapt your rooms to deal with that. Like as we're handling these high PPFD and higher light intensities, then you've got to really balance everything else out. So there's always that learning curve. Like LEDs, you got to be running your room super hot, right? And there's all kinds of things that you got to tie in. So there's always that identified, now how do I integrate this technology? And that's kind of the fun part of it, but none of it happens in a vacuum, right? You got to change your methodology to match your new technology that gives you that advancement. So that's kind of that's the R&D room.
I think it's going to help us all grow as growers, right? We're going to have another opportunity to learn this plant from a whole different perspective, right? You know, all of us are probably eventually going to get our feet in the LED waters, and we'll really be able to learn a lot more about the physiology of the plant than we did previously with just the traditional lighting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I know Miles is always chatting me up about new technologies that he finds that he's making me aware of quite often. So also, I mean, you know, let's throw the question your way a little bit.
Me?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think pretty much all of us here are, I like to really take a technical approach to growing. I get very frustrated if I don't know what's going on. So like Bruno touched on crop steering and strategizing on irrigation methodology. And also like Jacob was talking about, just having the tools that we see in these commercial ags to aid in our decision making, because you can never take the person out of it, but having the data to make good decisions is really important. So there's all kinds of new software that helps me in tracking growth over a period of a plant's life cycle. So I know when the stretch is over. I think that just as a whole, it's just an exciting time. And we're lucky to be dealing with a crop that has a margin that can justify these technological advancements and trying them out. And I've been lucky having a group that allows me to play with things, you know, because that's the fun part. I think once you have your building operational and everything's running smooth, not that I've achieved that yet, but then I'd want to be tinkering in the garage, you know, and see what I can do differently. Another thing that's exciting for me is, and Apogie's been talking about this, we look at generally what we think is the photosynthetic spectrum, but there's so much outside of it that really is photosynthetically active and signaling to the plants. And there's all kinds of things we can manipulate. And I think for me, that's like the puzzle that's the funnest part. How can we pull the most potential out of this plant, you know? So there isn't one thing in general. I'm just excited to be able to do this in this time with this technology. So.
You know, if I may ask a question, Nate, for Tony and for Jacob, and Tony, I'll make you come back a second, but is there room for tinkering and operations at your scale? You know, but I'll let you comment on what you're going to say.
Yeah, for me, coming from the the large scale commercial greenhouses where technology is being implemented on a grand scale, right? So, and all these things that we're talking about, this AI learning and all these sensors that are going to try and run your climate and run the computer system and stuff for you. That's all well and good, but there's always going to be, from what I've seen, there's always going to be a need for guys that really have the art side of it too. You know, as a commercial grower, you know, we use technology to the max, and we have our previous systems that are running all our irrigation. We set up all the parameters, the lighting systems, everything that we do is set up through climate control, labor registration, all those things. But then the grower has to look at what the computer's telling him, and then he has to go out into the greenhouse or out into his grow, and he has to see if what the computer's telling him is actually what he's feeling. So there's always going to be that art side of it. You know, there's always going to be the guy that needs to have the green thumb that can tell you if the computer's telling him what's really going, if the plant really likes it or not. And that comes from a guy with experience, comes from a guy that's been seen a lot of crop cycles, a guy that's able to read the plants and let the plants tell you what they want, right? And the thing about cannabis, the biggest thing that I've noticed, you know, when we plant tomatoes, we'll go plant 20,000 plants and they're all the exact same. In cannabis, you know, we have 30 or 40 different strains growing out there right now, and they're all trying to do different things. So we're always trying to find that middle ground to make it work. So it's a little bit more tricky. I think there's more of the art in the cannabis than there is in the commercial vegetable business, because, you know, all the different things these plants are trying to do and what you're trying to do with them on a greenhouse scale. So, you know, but I think that's really, no matter what, you know, technology has to be there, but you're always going to have that green thumb. You're always going to have the guy that can walk out there and tell you if the plant actually is feeling well or not. So.
Yeah, and you know, I want to get a lot of your guys' opinion on this, because the more growing operations I take a look at, the more investment I really feel like I see companies and engineers make is on growing of the plant, because they have history with other plants. But when it comes to trimming, processing, packaging, I feel like we're still cavemen sometimes. And it's such a weird plant. I mean, it's like not like a tomato, you can't wash it, you can't throw it around really, or else you're going to destroy the trichomes. And it's like, are we ever going to find a good answer to that, to do it that's not fully manual? Anyone want to chime in on that?
Jacob, you want to go next on that one?
Yeah. So, you know, as far as trimming and processing, I feel like we're kind of cavemen, but we're coming out of those ages. There's a lot of automation and a lot of cool technology coming to this. The hardest part to me is curing and drying. You know, a cure can be kind of subjective as far as what you're going for. Not really, you know, you want the best product, but what parameters does it take to get there? How do we track this? And you know, how do we learn to improve it? And that's all the kind of stuff that we're still learning, is what variables are there exactly that we need to follow? How do we follow them? And how do we find a way to make it consistent? Because we're ultimately dealing with an organic product. And for those of us that are dealing, you know, with the sun, whether it's outdoor or in a greenhouse, or, you know, even to some extent in the indoor climates, the seasonality of this is going to cause changes. So how do we go about kind of smoothing out that weather trend and getting a consistent medicine to the patients right now, or ultimately the end customers if we go rec this November?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Matt, what about on your guys' side? I mean, do you guys have a pretty good workflow for that post-harvest process?
Yeah. You know, we're a data-driven company in the sense that we're tracking everything. But I would say that in terms of our cultivation, I'm not really about reinventing the wheel. And in a lot of ways, I don't see the benefit most of the time in a lot of the tech. I haven't gotten to mess with the LEDs yet. I got burned by LEDs about 6 years ago. And being the stubborn jerk that I am, I just haven't gone back to them. If it goes where I think it's going, I guess we're probably going to, you know, we'll probably end up trying them out at some point, you know, someday. In terms of technology, though, I mean, I look at a room and I go environment, genetics, feed. Well, the feed's the same feed I've been using for 15 years. I mean, I'm sure I'm doing the same Athena test and Floraflex nutrient test everyone else is to save money, but we haven't switched. The environment is air conditioning, dehumidification, and fans. And, you know, genetics are genetics. And so I would say for me, irrigation is number one. I have yet to see a system that does it perfectly. So, you know, for me, I'd love to see irrigation go to that next level, and someone to come into my building and say, yes, we'll build out perfect irrigation for not $180,000, you know. It's astronomically expensive. So I think that in terms of post-production, well, that's what we're all dealing with, right? How do you dry 100 pounds of cannabis properly? How do you have the middle plants, you know, dry the same way as the plants on the outer part of the rack? Then how do you want to break it down? Are you going to have the trimmers break it down? Are you going to break it down? Do you have the lids on the bucking containers? Do you not? Who's checking the bags every day? It's painstaking. You have to be dialed in. I don't know how we get away from hand trimming. Maybe, you know, the automated trimmers go to that place at some point. Correct. I mean, that'd be great. It might be archaic, but I do love having my trimmers. So as long as our business model can support the employment, I'm in. You know, they say the craziest shit in that room you've ever heard. Like, I wouldn't want to lose that comedy. You know, and I love them to death. So, you know, I think that technology's great. I'd love to see, you know, where it goes in the future, you know, in terms of the irrigation, in terms of automation. But at the end of the day, the lights go on for 12 hours. They go off 12 hours later. I mean, you know, it's just not, you know, not a thing. So I would rather, instead of having just deluxe automation and a space age looking facility, I would just love to have my VPD at 10. I would love my settings to be perfect. And if that's a old school thermometer, if it's an old school AC, great, whatever it takes. But I'm weary of technology in cannabis. Most of these companies that are getting involved are the same people that shit on us for the last 20 years. You know, do I want to give them my money? We'll see. You know, I love that there's new people getting in. I don't use Floraflex here, but, you know, he's been in the industry for forever. I'm glad to see him have the success he's had. Grower's House, you know, you own the internet space. That's huge. I love to see it being you and not Monsanto. But yeah, I'm a bit leery of all that stuff because, you know, let's say you install a crazy system and spend all this money and, you know, it breaks. Who fixes it? You know, who do you call if it's 1 a.m. in the morning, you know? Whereas I know my systems. So we're absurdly data driven. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, we track everything down to the gram, you know, trim, waste, smalls, bigs. What did we get per light? What did we get per plant? What did it wash for hash? What does it yield? How many eighths did we get from the pound? How many eighths did they bag in an hour? You know, all of that stuff we track. But at the end of the day, there's 10 of us inside cultivation here. We live, eat, and breathe it 7 days a week. Every one of us talks to these plants every day. And I think the day that we stop doing that for favor of automation is the day we'll probably go off the rails.
It's the day what happens?
We go off the rails.
Okay. Excellent.
Some good comments. And I think maybe we'll start a podcast, the Trimmer Comedy Hour at Grow Sciences. Yeah. Hang out with some of the crew.
I'd listen.
Yeah. Hey,
Okay.
I'd like to kind of jump into the conversation too. I'm right there with Matt. I don't think that technology has came very far for the cannabis industry, actually. I mean, what cannabis cultivation really is about, it's about the grind. It's about labor. If you think it's going to be easy, it kind of goes back to, what we were talking about, certain people in the cultivation. Everybody thinks they want to be in the cultivation and work in a cultivation. We'll see. Once, it's kind of like everybody thinks they want to be a fighter until you get punched in the face. We'll see, right? It's the same thing with cultivation, man, and I think the biggest technology that's kind of, came to the cultivation industry is DE lights. I think that's kind of been one of the bigger things. I don't think LEDs have caught up with the price point. The technology hasn't, at least, in my opinion. I'm right there. I'm right there with Matt. You gotta be in the cultivation. You gotta touch your plants. You gotta understand them. When you come to harvest, for example, each cultivar is different, right? I think you don't know. Our papaya punch takes different dry down time than, say, our slurricane, for example. It's a different kind of cure. The moisture levels, understanding the thickness of, the flower, the leaf to bud ratio with that, and you can cultivate a great product and screw it all up right at the end. I think where the technology is really kind of driven is workflow aspects. How do you scale? It's different than having 20 lights. When you start scaling to multi-hundreds, multiple hundreds of lights, it's different. So I think that's where the technology is, and the data. Our team, we track everything as well. We understand that it takes 60 seconds to walk down the hallway. If I have a team member that forgets their snips at the end of the hallway, that's 60 seconds one way, 60 seconds the other way. That's 120 seconds that we just paid somebody to walk up and down a hallway. So understanding the workflow within the cultivation when you start to scale, I think is very, very important. Setting your team up for success is very important. But you just have to, technology, yes, it'll gather data for you. But VPD, for example, is a good, is kind of a good technology, but that's just us understanding as operators. A lot of people think the smartest person in the room is the engineer, right? The smartest person really in the room is the operator. People in their day-to-day that understand the plants, they understand how to push their girls. For example, our papaya punch, we have to push her very differently than we have to push any of our other cultivars. And I think that, that's, very important. You get to know your cultivars, you learn how to push your girls, real good. And not every crop is the same. You have to wake up in the morning, be ready to get kicked in the face, and it's really how you deal with it. And that's what cultivation is about.
Yeah, no, that's
I can ask you a quick, just a data point, Nate, if you could hold your thought before you go on to the next team. Teammates, how many, let me discuss real quickly. How many teammates do you have over there, George?
So we have 728 lights and we have 28 team members. That's how efficient we are.
And Miles, how many teammates and just are you working with over there at Earth Healing?
So right now in our current facility, we don't have that many. We have like 4 or 5 running our pheno hunting room. We're anticipating a new greenhouse build that we're breaking ground on in a campus facility similar. We got a couple greenhouses going up in a very large indoor that we're building out over the next year. We're anticipating first phase like 30. So I'm not the expert on workflow because that's down the road for me.
It gives people a context of how many people, of what you guys have to deal with. And I heard you guys are going huge at Earth Healing. So congratulations. Bruno, like how many teammates is Connected going to be having here soon?
Right, so we're just getting started, getting off the ground with cultivation. So right now we're 4 people strong, but we're going to be expanding that as we have more rooms come online. So right now we're actively, hiring and going through that process basically. But I got to agree with George actually on the previous point that really I don't see an automation of that post-harvest process really anytime soon. It's really, really difficult to standardize a process like that when you have so much variation within just the genetics that you're growing, even just in one round. So it's really just about optimizing that workflow with who you have and really understanding how to optimize that labor.
Matthew, how many people are teammates, trimmers, entertainers? How many?
Got, 10 people inside cultivation. We've got 8 trimmers, 4 packagers, myself, and a compliance, a few people. We're about 35 people total.
Jacob?
So at the farm, we have about 330 to 350 people between the cultivation and post-processing sides, but that also includes quite a bit of support facilities, maintenance, a few accountants, HR, all those people.
And Tony, are you guys over there at Sunday Goods?
Yeah, just for the indoor and outdoor cultivation, we have 105.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting, Nate, if you want to go on to the next subject, as we hear from other members of the industry, consumers and patients, obviously, I mean, clearly all you guys are well respected. It's just, size doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of the product in any way whatsoever, which is quite interesting. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but Nate, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I know. And George brought me back a little bit. He was talking about when DE lighting just first came out. And I remember before that, if you weren't growing with like a Hortilux 1000-watt HPS, you didn't know what you were doing. And then Gavita light came out, and everyone was like, what is this microwave doing on a light? And now we're on to LEDs. And it makes me think about a parallel is the way that people are consuming cannabis now. I mean, when it first came out, it was just anything you could get. Then it became indica or sativa or hybrid. And then people started focusing on different cannabinoids, THC, CBD, CBN. And, now we're graduating to terpenes and who knows where else. So for the next topic, I really wanted to talk about what are growers doing to influence the market and pay attention to the market? Like, where do they think, people's interests are gravitating towards? I want to hear that from you guys. Why don't we, let's see, who have we not spoken to in a second?
Tony or Jacob?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of what we do as far as trying to feel what customers are wanting is talk to the bud tenders. So, regular meetings to talk to the sales team and to representatives from the different dispensaries as far as, hey, what is it that you guys are hearing? What do people like? What do they don't like? What do they want more of? Okay, let's see what we can do to facilitate that demand. But, from the other side of it, what we're trying to do to influence the market is at the same time in those, hey, talk about some of these terpene profiles. Like a lot of what we're still learning are these secondary metabolite effects where, yeah, the THC may get you stoned or the, different cannabinoids may give you these different effects, but the terpenes are just as important. And, in the same sense of comparing it to like industries, while people do drink to get drunk, the flavor is important, and it's just as important in cannabis. So the terpene profiles are important, and we're just trying to do all that we can to not only learn what the market wants, but also help the market understand that this is important. Pay attention to it and let us know what you like so we can be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, Bruno, you guys have a pretty big brand with Alien Labs and Connected Cannabis. I mean, you guys probably have conversations about this all the time. Give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah, absolutely. So our philosophy is really, we kind of want to drive the market, to be honest, right? So we feel like we have a decent leg up on genetics and breeding. That's something that we're constantly working on, and we're actually going to be bringing here to Arizona as well. So we're going to have our own breeding program here, and we plan on, really kind of driving what's new on the market and what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think? What do you think that is in 2021?
Well, it's going to be, we have a lot of cool stuff coming out. I'll say that. I've seen the breeding project. Actually, I was in Sacramento this week, and I was just kind of taking a look at everything that we have going on over there, and we're looking to expand it very, very quickly. So yeah, I don't know if I don't want to say too much, but there's definitely going to be a whole lot of cool stuff coming out, and we really expect to make an impact. You know, not even just in this industry, but even in California, continue to make the impact that we've been making.
Got it. And in terms of consistency, I mean, do you find your guys gravitating towards trying to find ways to be more consistent? I mean, you guys looking to get into tissue culture, or are you guys doing that currently?
We are exploring those things, yeah, currently. Absolutely. We're going down every possible avenue.
Awesome. How about you, George?
Yeah, so, you know, we like to, here at the campus, you know, grown by the consumer for the consumer. So we cultivate what we want to cultivate. You know, we have a round table. You guys are all invited. We have a round table where we try it all out ourselves. And if we like it, then that's what we put it, you know, what we put out for. I would say one thing that we're really hunting right now, and I mean, I'm the most irresponsible hunter probably in the state. I use a whole room like this just to hunt, man. And you have to get through there and find your unicorn before you actually put it in production, right? I mean, phenos, and that's something else that we could talk about. You know, Blue Dream from the Tucson Cannabis campus may not necessarily be the Blue Dream from Grow Science, for example, right? Two different cultivations, two different phenotypes, cannabinoid profiles. So, you know, just extending that conversation to the consumer and letting the consumer understand where their flower is actually coming from. And then again, the endocannabinoid system, right? Not everybody's endocannabinoid system is different or is the same. It's very different. The way my body, you know, reacts to, say, Blue Dream is very different than yours. So just kind of educating the consumers on that. I know one thing that we're really hunting here, and we're hunting on noses right now. I think that's where the market is starting to go, the nose and the taste. We've never, I mean, that we don't look at the THC content here, man. I mean, I know that's everybody's pretty excited about that, and we go on the experience. We want a great experience for the consumer, and that's what we try to do. We don't do it all the time. Nobody does, but you know, that's kind of our goal and what we shoot for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, Miles, you have a pretty methodical approach. Why don't you chime in and tell us some of your thoughts?
As far as hunting,
You know, just let's like think of it from this perspective. What is the consumer looking for in 2021? How are they shopping? What are they interested in? And how do you either drive that or react to it?
I know what I try to do is just get involved on the cultivation side with training our bud tenders and people that are dealing with the patients, because I feel like a lot of the time some of what I think is the best is passed over for something with a higher THC percentage. And I think it's kind of a standard maturation of the market here where people want their most bang for their buck. But I know that I've had way more effects off some 17% super terpy this or that versus just what feels like I'm just taking a straight isolate dab, you know? So I like to hunt on the nose. I also sadly have had to pass up on some genetics that I really thought were great. It might work its way into as a concentrate strain if it's super terpy, but just doesn't quite hit what the patients are asking for in our shops. But I think it's kind of that balance, but I think it's our due diligence, our duty to try to educate, because really as cultivators, we are very intimately around these plants and understand the smells and the experience of growing it, and that can be imparted into the consuming of it at the end. So what I mean, I think we all like to talk about plants, and usually as cultivators, you and I are talking about the smells, right? So I just try to pass that on and educate as much as possible, because I truly believe that a patient's going to get more out of starting to understand the nose, you know, because there's some stuff I think smells nasty and I smoke it and I don't really like it. But then there's stuff that somebody else thinks is disgusting, but I love and I enjoy the experience of smoking it. And I enjoy the effects and the medical effects of it. So I just try to do my part in every interaction I have with somebody that's interested in the plant on really kind of shifting away from that THC percentage and looking at it as the whole picture.
Yeah.
You
And,
know, sorry,
go for it, Dimitri.
Nate, I have a quick question, and and I'm going to apologize before I ask this question and start this theme, because we get a lot of people from LinkedIn, we got a lot of businessmen, we got a lot of investors, we got that guy in Wall Street that's sitting there in a tall building, doesn't know anything about cultivation or cannabis, and I'm with you guys. I've my experience with the old school, with the integrity and honesty of a handshake, really touches my heart. So I really appreciate the craft aspect of cannabis. But what they're thinking is, as cannabis becomes more and more of a commodity and it shifts towards more and more edibles, which we've seen that pattern in adult use states, and away from flower, certainly the flower will always have that connoisseur craftsman ship that's very important, that smell, everything else aspect of it. But how much is going to be, I'm trying to phrase my question. Does it matter? What is it going to matter when everything is oil extracted, infused into products? How much will the consumer be able to tell the difference between something that's done well and not done so well? And if you see the theme I'm going with, thinking about it from somebody who doesn't know as much. You see what I'm saying? They're thinking to themselves.
Yeah. Hey, Dimitri, I'll take that, man.
Yeah.
I think the consumer, I think there is there will be, a turn for, those type of consumers, but cannabis is a culture, right? I think flower will always be around, and just the culture aspect of it, the smoking aspect of it, the socialization, of it. So it all starts from these girls right here, fire in, fire out, even with extractions. So this is where it all starts. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon, the flower. I think the market will, for a long time, the majority of the market will be flower, although, concentrates will dig into a lot of that as well.
Yeah, I agree. Flower is always going to be king, I think. It's really going to be the measurement, the marker for a good company that really knows what they're doing. It's going to be all about their flower. Because you can get around and hide some stuff with edibles and extracts and all that, but really what's going to make or break a reputation for a company, I think, is their flower quality.
Yeah, and outside of distillate, if you're looking at an extract company, I know when I'm deciding what goes to our lab, or our lab's telling me what they want in their lab, it's always terpenes, right? Like that's just the name of the game, unless you're going distillate or isolate. Like there'll be stuff like, oh, this isn't going to hit the THC mark, and they're like, I can't believe you got rid of it. That's my favorite thing, So it's all about the terps because you're concentrating everything else, and that's the philosophy we go forward with, and we're hoping that we can push the consumer to understand that as well, because I think we all know that to be true,
Hey, and George, my dad's a cultural anthropologist. I'm with you on this. And one of my favorite things about working in this industry is understanding the culture. And so, 100% MITA will do whatever it can to help protect that, enhance that, explain that, and explore that. So, Matt, did you want to jump in there?
I think everyone makes a lot of good points. I think that if we intend to get the black market, gray market.
I don't like that. I don't like the word black market.
Traditional market.
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. I find that group to be OG smokers. We haven't yet found a great way to package our OGs to maintain, the smell. I think we are getting much, much better at it, but we're not going to get those people out of the black market until we have achieved that. And I just traveling around, I don't know anyone who is right now. Frankly, I think those are really tough to work with. I think that, we might look at breeding down the road here, maybe next year. I think right now what we're doing is there's so many seed companies out there just throwing out absurd fire, besides all the Hermes, that it's just a lot of fun right now to hunt for packs, seed hunt, and find winners. And, that's what we're doing. We've got 2 rows in our building that for the next months have, and, we'll be pheno hunting so we can release a new lineup next year and mess with it. I think flower is always going to be prevalent. I would challenge whether 710 Labs thinks that their reputation is going to be based on only flower. They don't really do flower. I think there is a large swath of the population that craves a super high-end concentrate. That's why we got into rosin in the way in which we did. And I think that will inevitably, between the pen aspect, the portability, flavor, as we get more into terpene profile and see the effects of that and how we utilize that, I think that'll be a huge piece of it. But yeah, I think the culture is huge, but is the culture going to be the same in 10 years? Unfortunately, when I was getting into cannabis, you hid to go smoke. Nowadays, it's cool to smoke outside. And listen, I love it. Like, I hit my pen all day outside. I get it. But I don't know if it's the same after legalization. And I'm not going to, I don't know is my answer to that. So will the culture revolve around flower? Who knows how the industry is going to be guided with that. We haven't seen the effects of Constellation brands or big tobacco jump into this industry yet. And Bruno was talking about Alien Labs driving, the industry. I think he's in California. He's 100% right thus far. And the fact that I know Sherbasio and, those genetics, and I've sampled them, and I support Alien Labs all the way, tells you that. I think that you can make huge moves in Arizona. You will. I'm excited. I'm going to buy it. Do I think we've seen Marlboro jump in yet and show us how you really drive a market? I don't know. And that's something that scares the living shit out of me, frankly, is, when you have unlimited money, unlimited political influence, unlimited ability to change the landscape canvas of the country and state, what is the culture going to look like in 10 years? I don't know. I do know that in our rosin making travels the past 18 months, we've discovered that it is only good rosin if the flower's of the highest level. It's unbelievable how hard it is to make this product. So I think there'll always be a need in our world, as what we're guiding towards high quality flower. Will it be 50% of the market, 60% of the market? People much smarter than me are going to make that decision. I just hope I'm a part of it. And that's really what I'm looking for. But I think the future is going to be, as the new products get developed, whatever they are. I mean, the C-cell cartridge is only a couple of years old. This isn't something that's been around, 50 years. We're going to see more technology like that. We're going to see new ways to ingest cannabis. And I'm thrilled to be along for the ride and to be in the seat that I'm sitting in and getting to see that stuff firsthand. But I don't know where the industry is going to go. I mean, when I bought a bag 15 years ago and you got a seed, we high-fived each other. I mean, we thought it was winning the lottery. Today I have to replace that eighth and apologize to the person. And you would have thought I ran over their dog with my car. It's ruthless. So, we'll see where it is. I don't know, but I hope I'm still here.
Matthew, just real quickly regarding interstate transportation and stuff. What's interesting is that our state laws, your organizations as they exist today, our state laws and our state regulations will have to be changed before we can allow the sale of production and sale of cannabis from out of state into Arizona. So we're going to have this unique situation in 5-10 years when the federal government steps out of it, whether it's through decriminalization or legalization, where the state players are going to interact at the state level and decide how that's going to look. And you're going to have certain people that are going to want interstate commerce and certain people that are not going to want interstate commerce. You might end up with a lawsuit that eventually will allow for interstate commerce, but the state laws still have to be, and state regulations still have to be altered for that permission. And there's a lot of lobbying behind the scenes. And you're going to have different members of the Arizona cannabis industry on different sides of this. Some who want California, competition to come in here, and some who don't. And then some who want to be able to expand to other markets. You might have intergovernmental agreements. It's going to be wild. I call it the title fight of lobbying.
Well, I don't think, sure, I think you're right. I think that before there's any discussion of legalization, or maybe it is the precursor, the elephant in the room in cannabis is 280E. the fact that more people do not understand how 280E tax code affects all of us is frankly like basically a tragedy at this point, because what people account for in greed is actually being eaten up in a tax code that is both archaic and highly restrictive. And if cannabis was any other business that was not a Schedule I substance and wasn't subject to 280E tax code, which is federal drug trafficking tax code, mind you, even though we're in a state that has legalized the production of cannabis, sale, consumption. The day 280E ends, that's your game changer. That's going to change how we do business. It's going to be the pricing reset in the market, because, you know, let's just rip the Band-Aid and have the discussion that no one seems to want to have. Prices are going up. They're not going down right now. Forget about the fact that there's a shortage. This rec law has a 16% tax associated with it. Who do you think is paying them? If you think the production's going to take it or the dispensary is going to take it, you're sorely mistaken. Like every other business, that tax is going to be passed on to the consumer. There's already been pricing resets in the market. More are coming. The reset inevitably after that will be the end of this archaic tax code, which basically taxes us at an 80% tax rate. We will then pass that savings back into the market, and that'll just be a normal market dictation. And that'll be the reset for the patient. So we can talk about legalization. What legalization means for what I believe to be a majority of the people in my seat, which are, I have a 400 light facility. Yes, we are expanding our building, but I'm not going to be in a position to output 25,000 pounds a month and serve Missouri. So when I hear the word legalization, what I hear are the people who have been prosecuting people like me for 30 years coming in and taking my job. I'm not thrilled at the aspect of that. I'm thrilled at the aspect that my friends won't get thrown in jail and that we won't have people not being able to work in the industry who have felony. You mentioned earlier, there's going to be a whole 26 new licenses when rec hits, 26. We're the 5th biggest city in the country, but 26, fair enough. Why aren't felonies excluded? Let me get this straight. We're going to give away 26 licenses to people who have felonies. Are they going to be able to work there? Like, are we changing the rules? Because right now, all my friends that have felonies, I can't hire. So what are we really doing? Let's talk about that. I mean, the business side is great. The interstate will open, Copperstate and Sunday Goods can murder the game. And I hope they do. Jake's a badass. He let me tour their facility with them. This dude loves cannabis, but, I've got, millions of dollars into this project of not my own money. I want to pay them back. I'd like my employees to have a great life. We have a good compensation package. We pay for healthcare. We have a great life. We're going to Topgolf together this weekend. I'd like, my family here to not share the story that so many people in this 20 to 30 year age group share, that they hate their jobs and fear their lives won't be better than their parents. I think if cannabis can insulate those people and provide a career like all of our parents had the opportunity to have, I think that'd be great versus interstate commerce. And I think there can be an equilibrium where the patient can go into the dispensary, not pay $100, have a great experience, and we can all do what we came here to do. I would much rather it be the people on this webinar, though, than the people you're referencing. I don't have political power. What politician would look at me? I wear Costco sweatpants. I'm a joke. Like, I'm not going to have political power, and I'm fine with that. I don't want political power. I want to be left alone. But
there's probably a couple of politicians watching this, so they're learning.
And that's fine. They've been watching for a while. Let's not kid ourselves. Did you really think we were criminals when you were prosecuting, or was it about money seizure? Right? You didn't really think we people were criminals. Like, I don't know any lawyer who thinks that.
The chief prosecutor was from Just Say No. What's before that? They're all the damn hippies are causing all the problems with the marijuana.
And that's
so
fine.
I didn't think about what we were doing. We just did it.
Okay, but
drug policy never crossed my mind until I left the office.
I hear what you're saying, but for the people who have been indicted like myself and people that have faced that system, and I mean this in all due respect, that kind of falls on deaf ears. We had to live that, and in many ways we're still living in it. And I would rather not have those people take over my industry. In fact, most of the time, I find that if I can keep those people out of my business does better, and I will do better for the patients. And, you know, George shares this philosophy, and I can tell, I think everyone on here does, and I've barely known George, frankly, but, you know, you're either in this to be part of your community and like do some crazy shit and have big plans, aspirations, or you're probably in it for the wrong reasons and this isn't going to work out well. And it doesn't matter race, creed, religion, Republican, inconsequential. It doesn't matter. But your intentions matter. And I think that I would want our industry to be controlled by us. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. The only correction I will make is, George, we don't grow Blue Dream at Grow Sciences. And
Neither do we, man.
I saw Bruno's face when you said the Blue Dream thing. Bruno, don't bullshit. You were embarrassed by that. That's all right. I was trying to save face for you, my friend, because I like you.
On that note, I run HPS lights all day.
You know, Matthew, if it matters, in the 90s, let's say we had plenty of family and friends. I went to Boston University in the 90s, and Tucson was a drug corridor for marijuana. And let's just say there was a lot of mailboxes, et cetera, sending lights, like just regular lights, to movie theater, performance centers at Boston University, and they weren't filled with lights.
Tucson's always been a spot. If you were around in the late 90s, there was a genetic called Black Mamba, and not the stuff that you see today.
Yeah, man.
1997 to 1999, Black Mamba came down from Portland. To this day, some of the best cannabis I've ever consumed. And when I run into people old like I am, you know, and they remember that one, it's like that fist pound moment where we go back to our early counterculture days, like hiding out in spot one to smoke the joint of Reggie. You know, most of my employees never de-seeded weed. That's a tragedy. Like, it's crazy to me. Ask your teams, guys, dead serious. Hey, how de-seeded weed? What? You know, they got the honor and the privilege of growing up post all that, which is great. God knows some of the shit that I've ingested in my life smoking this cannabis. I mean, you know, the pesticides probably got us high too. You know, who knows? But, you know,
it was nice. I could smoke whole joints.
Look, the pesticides made us who we are today. So on that note, let's jump into some of the questions that we ended up getting from the viewers. So I'm gonna lob this one over to you guys. Whoever's feeling it, jump on it. But they're asking, you know, what are the biggest hurdles of running a cultivation today for you?
I mean, even on our scale, I would say the biggest challenge is always labor. You know, there's a ton of really awesome people that, you know, want to get into the cannabis industry, but, you know, it's not all the glamour it marks up to. It looks to be. There's a lot of really tedious work, and it really is a labor of love. So finding the people that really, really want to be here and are really, like some of the other guys have said, are here for the culture and are here to bring a quality product and take pride in their work, that's the part that we're looking for. And it's, you know, at times challenging to find, but it's always great to find new teammates and people that are up to the challenge.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Building the team is definitely the challenging part of growing nowadays. Getting people in there that are there for the right reasons, really want to work. And yeah, like Jake was saying, you know, there's a lot of tedious work. It's not easy to find someone that really comes in every single day and just, you know, hits it really with a whole lot of passion. They really got to love what they do.
Just said it.
Tony, what do you think over there? You guys are growing at a pretty big scale. What do you see?
Well, labor obviously, again, is always a challenge, but in all honesty, on our scale, being able to mechanize all the processing systems is really what's, I would say, our most difficult part. We think we've come a long ways in the greenhouse. We kind of know what the plant wants. We were able to pretty much give it what we think the plant needs. You know, in the end, you're trying to grow a healthy plant. That's really what matters when it comes to quality and all the other aspects that go along with this thing. It has to be healthy, right? And so once you get through that and we go through the other door into the RPM side, it's really being able to mechanize, you know, that trimming, because, you know, just having room for 50 trimmers to keep up, you know, I mean, you can't do that and say, I'm going to do everything hand trimming. You know, maybe you pick out the certain strains that you want to go that way, but being able to mechanize and still make quality product. But you got to do it on our scale. It's got to be done with mechanization. And there's still a lot of, you know, there's getting to be some better equipment out there, but you know, it's still a little bit hit and miss. And I don't get that involved on the RPM side, to be perfectly honest with you, but I know it's really what's holding us back right now from taking the next step, I think, and being able to continue to, you know, we're putting out a lot of cannabis, you know, our outdoor grow's done better. And I have a farm background. I was a dairy farmer in Wyoming for the first half of my life. And, you know, I expected to do all right outdoors, but, you know, it's been unbelievable what this plant's been able to do outdoors for us and how much it's grown, and even in the heat and just no protection. But being able to process it in the end is big for us, right? Because we just have so much trying to come through in so little time. So for me, it's mechanization, you know, and having a way to do all the processes, drying, getting the right dry and the right cure is, as everybody knows, is as important as growing good quality plant. You know, there's just so many ways to goof it up after you've got it harvested, everything's good, and then you muck it up on the other side of the doors, as we always say. But so for us, that's really kind of where we're at. We're trying to find equipment that can handle what we do on our scale. I just want to say one thing. You know, I think this business, I look at as agriculture. That's my background. I'm agriculture, and I think it's inevitable that as this business continues to grow, and whether it becomes recreational, or whether we eventually 10 whatever years down the road you have interstate commerce and those kind of things, you know, commercial large scale is inevitable, because it's been inevitable in every other aspect of agriculture. It is what it is. It becomes the guy who can produce low, but I'm telling you, no matter how low you try and push the cost, quality always has to still be number one, because quality is what sells, right? And so, you know, you can push out a lot of product, but if it ain't any good, you know, eventually nobody's going to buy it. Maybe the first round, but the second round, no. So, you know, we still focus, you know, as big as we are and as much as we try and push through, you know, our focus is always on the quality of the plant, quality of the strains, picking the right strains that give us that quality, because that's really where it's at. It all has to do with that. And then trying to make the quality consistent on the other side in RPM, in processing and trimming and curing and drying and all those things. So,
you know, you guys mentioned that personnel is really one of the hardest things. And there's another question related to it is, I think a lot of viewers are really interested in the cannabis industry and might not be working in it right now. And the question is, how does one get a job in a professional grow? And I want to rephrase it to you guys. What are you looking for in applicants who are trying to join a commercial growing operation?
That's a really good question. The three key, very broad ideas, but passion, technical know-how, and a love for the, you know, well, I guess that would be passion, and a little bit of the art side of it too. I mean, those are the three components that really make a good grower, right? Part artist, part technician, and then just a super love for the plant. It's just really hard to find that combination of three factors in one person, just the way you want to, right at the time you need them.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency in your personnel is what I would say. Consistency, they have to show up, man. That's the first thing that has to happen. Your team members have to show up, right? So that's the number one thing. We look for rock stars here. if you think you're gonna become wealthy overnight working here at the cultivation, you're probably not. You're probably going to be in for a hurting, I think. But you have to show up. You have to have a great work ethic. And you have to see the vision. I mean, there's a vision, and that's what we're chasing here. We're chasing the vision. So our team, that's what we try to do, and that is actually one of the most difficult things I would say for the cultivation for us is trying to keep that team. Keep the team's eye on the prize. Right. It's tough. Cultivation's tough work. And if somebody tells you it's not, then they probably haven't been in there grinding with you, man. So keeping the team's eye on the prize, I think, is very important. So I think that's one of the...
Hey, guys, we're going to take a real quick screenshot, our admin, for like promotional purposes on the YouTube. So everybody has to like smile at the same time. So Destiny, you ready to take the photo?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay, everybody. 1, 2, 3. There you go. You got it, Destiny?
Got it. Thank you, guys.
All right, sorry about that. Nate, go ahead. And we should start winding up. And let's, I really would like everybody to tell a little bit more about themselves and how to get in contact with them. The emails will be on the MITA website. But I personally want to just say, look, you guys are the craftsmen. And yeah, things are going to go commercial and bigger. It's just inevitable. But that love and that skill, we want to make sure that Arizona succeeds in both parameters. That the identity of Arizona and the people in Arizona and the culture of the cannabis in Arizona shines through long term from MITA. So I'd like to do individual 15, 30-minute podcasts that we can put on the MITA website with each of you, so people can get to know you a little bit more as the craftsman that you are. And Nate, go ahead and.
Cool. Yeah. Well, let's see. It's 5:46. I know we have a hard stop at 6 p.m. Maybe we'll answer a few more questions for about 3 or 4 minutes. Give the last 10 minutes for a sign off from everyone. Does that sound good, Dimitri?
Yeah, that sounds good. And if one question everybody is always asking when they watch these things is people want to know how to get involved in industry and get involved in cultivation. Like, so if somebody wants to work at Sunday Goods or Grow Sciences, how do they? What's the best way to get involved with your group? Matt?
I'll tell you, I think that unless you were, and this is just a Grow Sciences statement, I don't know where everyone else is. I mean, I know Bruno's just building out, Alien Labs here, so he's probably in a different spot. But the dynamic we're at this point is, if you really wanted to get into cultivation, assume you're going to be a trimmer at Grow Sciences for a year. You're going to present an infectious attitude. And you're going to ask 1,000 questions. And you're going to ask to talk to me a lot and just bug the shit out of me. And you're going to ask 6 times to come to cultivation. And on the 7th time, I'm going to trial you. I may or may not, make sure you get the right training. We'll try our best. You're going to sink or swim and you'll make it. And that's pretty much the most honest I can tell you. And I usually tell people trimming's the hardest job on the planet. So be prepared, you gotta want this. And for me, I hire on drive and passion. I'm an idiot. So I don't, this idea that someone would present this great resume or something like that, whatever. Drive and passion. And you basically look me in the eye and say, listen, I don't care if I have to eat, sleep, shit, and breathe this. I want to be here. I want to be a part of this. This is my passion. Get back to me. And it stays. And it's not just the initial, a month into it, you're on my door and you're like, I want to walk the rooms with you. I'm like, whoa, okay, and you're asking, you're bothering me, frankly. And that's great, and it's really not bothering me. I live for it. But, and that's how you get in. And it's painstaking and it's not fair and it's not logical. And maybe we'll get better at it. How do you get a job at GS? You probably know someone. Let's be honest. You probably know someone. We posted an ad about 2 months ago and we got 1,017 resumes. Guys, what the? You tell me how I searched through that. I have no idea. I wasn't smart to begin with. And how am I going to look through 1,000 resumes? It's not feasible. And I can't pay a PhD candidate right now. I can't. It just is what it is. So, you know, you'll probably know someone, or you'll start a conversation with me via email or DM, because I'm still the one doing a lot of that stuff. And you'll know someone here, you'll be here, and, you know, the rest is history. I'm trying to get a lot of women into cultivation. I'm falling short, I'll be honest, but I'm trying. And that's it, you know. So, but to give people the brutal honesty, I think you should probably be prepared, if you want to get into cultivation, to trim for a long while and really show yourself. Like be that person, you know. Be that.
Well, yes, it's interesting because it might not be logical, but your reputation is established. So whatever you're doing, it's working. So
just remember, reputations are easy when you're the first person prepackaging flower. Shit can turn on a dime, you know. You take your foot off the gas for a second, you stop being transparent, you forget where you came from, you let ego poison your business. This is nothing yet. There's 250,000 patients. We'll probably have 1.5 million people when rec hits that have never heard of GS, never heard of any of us, right? And they're going to base their interactions on a 1.5 minute walk into the dispensary when they talk to the bud tender and say, "What's great for a headache?" Or, "Hey, I'm going to the park with my friend, throw me an indica," or who the hell knows what they say. But, you know, I think that's where it ends up, you know, inevitably.
well, MITA will be doing a lot of adult use education, so we look forward to letting more people know about GS.
Yeah, there's a comment on that. You know, this weekend I'm going to go hang out with Matt, and we're going to do a walkthrough of his facility for cannabis. And so, like he said, if you want to get a walkthrough of his facility, you can probably check it out on YouTube in about 3 months from now, and we can show off a little bit of behind the scenes that would normally, you know, take you a year of trimming. So if you guys are looking for a job, watch some of the Get a Cribs episodes, and you'll probably learn a thing or two. And
Jacob, how do people get more involved with Copperstate?
So we're actually hiring right now for both the cultivation team and the processing team. So biggest hurdle is honestly location. We're up in Snowflake, Arizona, so it's about 3 hours north of Phoenix. If you're looking to get interested, literally go on the website, and if you're looking to get involved, just go on the website and apply. We'll go ahead, and we're starting to get through it. There's also a phone number you can call so you can check on your application. And, you know, it's real easy at this point. We're always growing. As I think Matt may have said earlier, we got a lot of space to grow into, and we're always looking to expand the team. So if you're coming in with a can-do attitude and you're really consistent, then I'm sure you'll be looked at as a really good applicant for the cultivation team.
Bruno?
Yeah, so we're currently building up the team right now. We're doing it as patiently and as meticulously as possible, but you can find any job postings as we put them up on Indeed. I believe that's the avenue that we're going right now for the most part. Like Matt said, it's incredible. Within less than 24 hours, you have hundreds and hundreds of applicants to sift through. So like I said, it's a painstaking process that we're going to be very patient with. It's not the easy part, right? We said it's the most difficult thing is building the team. So it's something that we're going to be putting a lot of time towards. But yeah, if anyone's interested, keep an eye out for those postings.
Tony?
Basically the same. All our postings, and we are hiring, always looking for good people. They're all posted on Indeed, or they can contact our HR department directly at the farm here in Wilcox. We are always looking for people that have a good attitude. Like one of the gentlemen said, first they have to show up, right? And then if you really want to advance in any job that you do, you have to find some way to set yourself apart, right? Do something extraordinary, right? Be an extraordinary worker, and I guarantee you'll get noticed, right? Because, you know, we always look for people with good attitude that want to go the extra mile and just put it all out there for their company.
Miles? You're on mute, Miles.
Better now?
Sure.
As these new facilities come online, we're going to be hiring extensively in the cultivation facilities. I believe our HR department usually posts on Indeed. You can also send resumes to earthhealing.org, and that'll go to our HR department. which seems to be a common theme over here. It's all about work ethic and passion, because this is a job where plants don't care what day it is. They don't care. They're there to do their thing, and it's our job to take care of them. And you definitely have to earn your way in, and that's kind of the way of the world in this game. So if you're dedicated and super interested in getting involved in a cultivation facility, keep an eye out for those job postings.
George?
Hey, we're hiring actually. Timing is everything, right? Timing is everything. If you wanna work here, you're gonna start out as a trimmer. Everybody does. We use our trim room. We call it the bullpen, and that's how we identify our rock stars there. When we need help back in the cultivation, we'll have a team lead come pull from the bullpen. We'll identify rock stars, and you can end up in a cultivation. You can end up in a lead spot. We're a true startup company here. If you want a job here, show up. Come ring the doorbell here. And if you really want it, you can find out where this place is. We're in Tucson. You have to live here. Come drop off your resume at the front door. But you got to come here and you got to make the effort.
I'm gonna need a job here soon. So
Did it have to grow Blue Dream?
We don't hire ex-prosecutors.
no, come on.
Thank you for not letting me alone in that one, Miles. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Maybe the bailout there, right? Is it right as we close the ticker on this one?
8 years. I am like the greatest advocate for ending prohibition and freedom that you can possibly imagine, and it helps like communicate with some of these law enforcement guys.
Good, you're doing reparations, man.
Okay, I got it.
You are. There's just too much scar tissue.
I'll take it. No, actually, you know, when I was prosecuting, I did mostly domestic violence, but every time I'd come across a marijuana case, we didn't think too much about it, but I was always like, you know, probation, you know, fine, and you can't do a big fine. You got to suspend the fine, because these are entrepreneurs generally that are transporting, trying to make a living. So if you ask them to do a $5,000, $15,000 fine, where are they going to get the money to pay that? You know, so I was a pretty conscientious, you know, prosecutor in that capacity. So, but
Most of the people that actually got popped weren't the entrepreneurs. They were the nicest ones, because they were the loudest about cannabis because they loved it and didn't know it was going to end them up in jail.
Well, I did border stuff, so I had the whole Tohono O'odham Nation. There's a lot of poor people out there that find the fastest way to make money is do $10,000 for a carload, et cetera. So yeah, young kids' realities got ruined. A lot of federal level prosecutions and tribal level prosecutions with people who were just entrepreneurs, and it was in reflecting upon it, because when you're just doing a job, you're not thinking about the policy. You're just doing what you're told to do. And but yeah, I'm sorry, Matthew. You're not going to let me live this one down. And
not even close.
You know,
that's okay. I've made more mistakes even than you, I bet. So you're safe. It's just throws me for a loop when I hear someone ever prosecuted, because it's you know, I kind of think to myself like
I wasn't very good at it either. So but Nate, do you want to give everybody a chance to wrap up for 30 seconds, say goodbye, and then because we're at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, let's do it. 30 seconds, I would say, you know, a send off and whatever else you would like to plug. Be shameless. George, why don't you kick it off?
I just want to thank you guys for having me. There's a lot of other groups out here, you know, that are great growers that deserve to be on this panel. You know, Potent Planet, Nectar Farms, TrueMed. You know, these are some other great cultivations, great cultivators. I mean, we have so many great cultivations throughout the state, and I'm excited to kind of just see everybody, you know, elevate their game and, you know, do what they love. So I'm just grateful to have this platform. And I like to give a shout out to my team, you know, Tucson Cannabis Campus, our team over at the Prime Leaf as well. But my team here crushes it. Couldn't do it without them. They're the ones who do all this, right? Big shout out to my team and to our community too, Tucson. I love this community. It's my city. I love this city. We created great relationships here. We're very proud to bring the Tucson Cannabis Campus here, and we're excited to, you know, give back to the community too, and let Tucson know that they made the right decision by having us.
And
Nice.
via nomination, those 3 groups are officially invited to the January cultivation panel.
Cool. Matt, why don't you hop in?
Yeah, I'll be fast. Thank you for having me on the panel. I love getting to talk to my peers in the industry. I like talking to everybody in the industry, and I hope it's not the last time we all hang out. George, Miles, I'll be down in Tucson tomorrow. Lunch is my treat if you're in. And I'd love to just keep talking with everybody, and let's just be one unit, and let's rock this shit and put Arizona all over the map the way it should be. Let me know how I can help, and let's do this.
Nice.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, Miles.
Like everybody said here, thanks so much for having me. Dimitri, just giving you a hard time. I still love you.
Okay.
And Nate, obviously, thanks so much for everything you've done in our community, and especially here in Tucson. Yeah, it's great to put faces to all these people that I kind of operate in the periphery of, and seeing other people that have the same sort of passion we do. I just feel overwhelmingly blessed that I get to wake up. I don't have a lot of hobbies that, like, this is what I do for fun, and to have the ability to do something I'm passionate about, work hard every day, and be able to provide for my family among such great peers. So thank you all. I'm just happy for the opportunity. Thank you.
Mhm. Beautifully said. Jake.
Short and sweet. Thank you to MITA and Growers House for putting this on. Really appreciate it. To all the co-panelists, I really appreciate your guys' time. I love this unity in the community. Let's keep it going. And to the audience, thank you guys. This is who we do it for. It's all a labor of love. And if you guys are looking to get more interested or more involved in what we're doing, stop by Soulflower and ask about it. See what we're doing. We're all about you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Bruno.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me on. Thank all the patients of Arizona for supporting everything that we do out here. And look out for us. We're going to be dropping, I believe, November 13th. That's the launch date. So we're going to be landing here pretty soon. Yeah, hopefully everyone gets a chance to try it out.
Nice. Tony.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be part of this panel to learn a little bit more from, there's so much to learn in this industry. It's been a great 3 years for me, being a part of trying to develop the business here in Arizona and to build it out. Nobody does anything in this business by themselves. We have to have a great team be with us, and most of the guys that I work here at the farm in Wilcox, we work together. I have guys working for me as my assistants and my supervisors that I have 10 years experience working with. So, these are guys that are professionals that love the greenhouse business and have just transferred over into the cannabis business. And we love what we do. We like making things work and growing healthy plants. So thanks for having me.
Nice. Thanks, Tony. And Dimitri, maybe we should.
Can we get everybody?
Yeah, I think that's everyone. Did I
All
miss
right.
it?
Well, Nate, why don't you say goodbye too? Then I'll say goodbye and we'll wrap it up. We always close these things with what U2 used to close their concerts with in the 80s. And so you guys can fade away as you want to. I'll sit here through the whole song. But Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to thank everyone for coming on. I think Arizona is a super special place, and there's a lot more camaraderie among growers here than there was in California when I was there. So thank you all. I'm glad to call many of you my friends. And lastly, vote for Prop 207. Let's make Arizona recreational. That's it.
All right. Thanks, guys.